Lately, there's been a lot of conversation about a particular popular streamer guy named Clavicular and his connection towards Looksmaxxing and everything that has gone on with that. To preface, I was a person who was somewhat into Looksmaxxing. I used to watch stuff about it. Not that I wasn't like super deep into that. I knew about it. For example, I knew about Clavicular before he, I guess, ascended. I guess that's how everyone's saying it. He ascended before he started looking good. Back when he looked a lot more bloated for whatever reason. I didn't watch him, but I knew of him is the best way I can phrase it. The question of the video is Looksmaxxing Bad? And as is always a theme in a lot of my videos, if there's a question, the answer is not a simple yes or no. I believe Looksmaxxing, and this is more so for men because I would say there's technically a version of Looksmaxxing for women, and that's just this stuff they've been doing prior, makeup and whatever. But for men, I do believe Looksmaxxing is good in moderation. Surface level Looksmaxxing, like fixing your diet, going to the gym, washing your face, drinking water, and skincare. Those are the basics of Looksmaxxing. Simple stuff. Not skincare, wearing SPF or sunscreen. Yes, it doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter if you are black or whatever. Wear skincare. You can still get skin cancer regardless. There's been people or black people who said, oh, I don't need it or whatever. You do need it. Just because there's a lower chance of it doesn't mean that you won't be the exception. But I do believe Looksmaxxing is generally good for men, for grooming and all that, because there's a lot of men out here who could look so much better. Pause. Who can look so much better if they just put some stock into how they look. A lot of men, they just don't seem to care, or they can give a 99 and plus one reasons to why they don't care about why their looks don't matter. Granted, sure, there's going to be women out there who don't care about looks because looks is more of a... okay, this is going to sound kind of sexist when I say it like this, but looks is more of a woman's thing in the context of society, but I do believe you can get... Things are better for you when you look decent, or if you look, like you take care of yourself. You don't look unkempt. Rich people or businessmen, what do? They always looked very put together, and so they are automatically given more respect. So I do believe Looksmaxxing in the surface level and even a little bit further down in the iceberg, touching the water, is good for the average man. However, there's a lot of bad when it comes to Looksmaxxing. And I mean more so like the extremely the extremely autistic fucking scales, like your maxilla is recessed, your eyes have a negative canthal tilt or stuff like that. That is when it kind of gets to a point where if you have these type of features and you're into Looksmaxxing, let's say there's a boy who has a negative canthal tilt, I guess. So, in the negative canthal tilt is like if your eyes, like the outer part of your eye is kind of like lower than the inner part of your eye, or like the parts that are closer to your nose. So it kind of gives your eyes like a kind of like not a curve, but like a diagonal look, like a negative diagonal. If you're continuously seeing that, you're going to think you're ugly, and that's gonna give you insecurity. And this is where the bad part comes in, is because there's a lot of Looksmaxxers or certain Looksmaxxers who recommend doing and granted, some surgeries can be good, I guess, but in general they'll recommend surgery for you. For me, for example, I wasn't into like Looksmaxxing spaces like Discords and stuff like that. I just watched the YouTubers. There's only a few YouTubers I actually watch that is into Looksmaxxing. The main one is just a man named Roars, Rorze, Rorz. I'd watch him because I don't believe he recommends surgery. He kind of just gives advice because me and him, I guess, have a similar belief system where you want it to look natural in a way. You don't want to look unnatural. But a lot of Looksmaxxers, they'll peddle things to you that does nothing, or they'll tell you to get surgeries, eye surgery, nose surgery, these things that can be detrimental to you, type of thing. And these are usually the people who are into Looksmaxxing tends to be teenagers. And obviously when you're in your teens, you tend not to look your best because your body is still developing. You're going through puberty and stuff like that. And Looksmaxxing wasn't really popular when I was a teenager, at least, or I guess it kind of was, not really, but it was there, but it wasn't super popular, so I didn't know about Looksmaxxing. And if I did, with all the stuff that was going on with me, oh my goodness, I would have been terrible. I wouldn't have had surgery because I ain't had the money for no surgery, but I definitely would have been doing stuff. And obviously, what's worse than bad? The extremes. And to get to my point of what I said about Clavicular, he is He said they say that he's been taking over the internet. I guess so. But Looksmaxxing is a thing that comes and goes. Clavicular more than likely won't be that popular in another couple months unless he continues to clip farms or whatever. Because I don't watch Clavicular, but I've seen a couple of his streams and he is kind of boring. He's kind of boring, well, at least to me. I do kind of agree that Clavicular is more so a detriment, more so to younger people. He doesn't. I don't believe he recommends anything he does. You know, him doing all this stuff to lean out, all this other stuff to all these bad things like doing drugs or whatever. I don't believe he ever recommends it, but he doesn't exactly knock it. It's more of a I don't condone it, but I ain't gonna knock it if you do it type of thing. That's more so what it is. When it comes down to it, a very important thing that I feel like when it comes to Looksmaxxing that isn't really talked about is there's a certain level of genetic determinism in a way, as in you're gonna look a certain way regardless. For example, if your parents have a very hooked nose, you're not gonna have a straight nose, no matter what you do. No amount of nose breathing, no amount of exercises. I don't know if there's even exercises for your nose. No amount of certain things that you can do is going to change that. If your mom and your dad both have very hooked noses, you're gonna have it. No matter what you do, you're only gonna be able to grow a certain height, is what I'm trying to say. And there are people who will recommend certain things, testosterone. I don't think testosterone has anything to do with your height, or even like a GH, which is like growth hormones. No matter what you do, unless you're one of those people who can continue that growth plates are still open, so anything like basically pre 25 or so, you're only going to be able to grow so much. And even then, even saying 25 is very wonky, because usually your growth plates goes by like 21, I think. For example, my growth plates are still kind of open in a way, but even then, it's very. I think it's pretty rare. I had stunted growth, and I also a late bloomer, and I had stunted growth. So of course I'm gonna keep growing. But yes, a lot of these Looksmaxxers, they be offering surgeries, and then a lot of times they won't tell you what really are the issues. They'll recommend taking I'm gonna say TRT, but like testosterone, or not roids specifically, but like maybe like even PEDs, which is performance enhancing drugs, and they will kind of skew that there may be some other issues, like taking too much testosterone. For example, Clavicular talked about that, where he was able to reproduce or anything like that. And for example, when it comes to Clavicular, is that in the short term, all of what Clavicular does, it makes him look fine, right? He looks great, whatever. But we're not talking about the long term issues. And if Clavicular wants to be one of those like the stars that shine the brightest, burn out the fastest type of people, that's completely fine. If he just wants to do this until he's 25, or whenever his body's going to start degrading from all the bullshit he's taking, that's fine. But if you want to actually live a proper life, do not get hooked up on any of this Looksmaxxing stuff. Stay on the surface level. Once it gets further than that, that's when it's going to start becoming an issue. You know, like you're micro analyzing your face. For every little issue, you're just going to give yourself body dysmorphia in a way. It's like this promotes body dysmorphia, and I would know because I was doing that, bro. I was basically like had autistic levels of understanding of people's faces, as in like I used to be able to tell people, or not tell people, but I was able to look at a person and see every little issue in their face. I wouldn't say like your maxilla is recessed or something like that, but I could just look at somebody and tell like, oh my goodness, they are not doing the best for their faces. And a lot of men, we don't do what's best for our faces. We do whatever to look manly for some reason, and because there's still a stigma to a lot of the stuff that Looksmaxxing promotes. Save going to the gym, skincare that's considered girly. I consider that actually a really good thing because it can help give you clearer skin. It can help you have it can even, I'm not gonna say help it make you look younger, but it definitely helps you look more youthful instead of rugged or whatever. Not drinking beer, because beer isn't good for you, obviously. And if you drink too much of it, it's going to give you a beer belly, or even smoking. Granted, some people do use smoking to lean out for some reason, because it does lower your sensors or whatever. Your sensory for hunger, or I don't remember what it's specifically called, but that's what it does. Regardless, when it comes to like Looksmaxxing, if for the best advice for me, a young, sexy man, the best thing that you can do is drink water. I would say 2 to 3 liters a day. For example, I have a cup that's like 1,100 milliliters. I just have to drink 3 of them basically. That's over the amount, but give or take 300. Three of them. Drink less soda, sugar. Lower your sugar amount. Lower your sodium intake. Exercise. If you cannot go to the gym, just look up. There's some apps that can help you lean out. Do some things that burn fat. A lot of cardio can help. Cardio burns fat pretty well. Jog, things like that. When it comes to like your face, because that's a pretty important part, I do believe looks do matter for men to a lesser extent, but I do believe that they matter. Is to groom yourself. Some people have like facial hair, like not chin straps, but like goatees, beards, and stuff like that. And sometimes you might actually just look better without it, or like more like a 5 o'clock shadow. A lot of times when men recommend things to men, and this can come down to Looksmaxxing too, we tend to do it for the male gaze, I guess. So, and the male gaze is more like scruffy in a way, thick beards, thick eyebrows, very muscular. Those are for the male gaze, generally. Of course, there are obviously going to be women who love it. If you want to know what women will love, look at the things that women, I'm not going to say what they simp for, but who they tend to think looks very good, and go from there. Because a lot of the women's crushes tend to have like don't tend to have very thick ass beards, right? They don't tend to be bald or balding or have very short hair, things like that. But that also is case by case. Obviously, everything is case by case, or is a matter of perspective. But generally, I'm talking generally. And obviously, what somebody finds attractive in their 20s is usually not what they find attractive in their 30s. Because I believe that generally, like when it comes to women, they may like more feminine looking men, at least when they're around their 20s and early teens. And that can obviously change when they're older. But generally, it's simple. So it is very simple. Looksmaxxing is a very simple concept. Once you keep it to a minimum, obviously, like I said, water, less sodium, less sugar, more fiber. I didn't say that part, but more fiber. Exercising, do push-ups. If you can't do 10 push-ups, bro, work on 1 a day. If you can only do 1, then work on doing 1. The next day, try doing 2. Try doing 3 the next day. It's not a marathon, bro. It's not a marathon. You can, well, I guess it is kind of a marathon. I don't expect you to keep doing 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 throughout the day, throughout the year, because then you'll be able to do 365. Really, if you could just do 50 push-ups, you're golden. You are already ahead of majority of people if you can do 50 push-ups. Nay, if you can do like 25, 30, you're above a lot of people. And honestly, I believe currently right now, a lot of men specifically, I'm not gonna say women because I don't know. A lot of men do not work on themselves. So the competition, I think, is generally easier to get through. Granted, a lot of people are into Looksmaxxing. They aren't into it in a way where they're completely improving themselves to the best of their ability. That's why I say I believe Looksmaxxing is good generally for the average man or male, because a lot of us are kind of stifling ourselves from potentially looking better. And obviously, if you're just trying to look better for women, okay. But obviously you want to look good for yourself. You want to be able to look into the mirror and say, yeah, that's one good looking dude. That's one sexy ass motherfucker. You want to be able to do that. And obviously don't get too into Looksmaxxing because it gets autistic really fast. And it comes to a point where a lot of people are just bitter and they will microanalyze every little part of you because they themselves may be insecure. You might have better looking eyes from their perspective or better looking lips from their perspective. And they just want to tear you down because they can't see the beauty in themselves. And in a way, this seems kind of contradictory to what I said like maybe a couple videos ago or a video ago where I said there's some ugly motherfuckers out here. Bro, there are people who are just ugly. But a lot of these ugly, quote unquote, people, there are, because I have to say the quote part because even when I say there's ugly motherfuckers, I'm doing quote marks. But they may be ugly from their perspective, but they're not doing what's best for themselves. As in, shave the hair if it looks bad, cut your hair if it looks bad. Unless you like how your hair looks, and if you like how your hair looks, that's the best for you. And if you can and lean out, lose that belly fat. There are women who do like a dad bod, which a dad bod is still a body you have to exercise for because you're not gonna have that look if you're not just gonna naturally have that look. Some people do. Some people do, some people don't. But what I mean is exercise, man. Even if you don't want to like go to the gym, cardio is your best friend. If and even if I mean like even if you have to pace around your house, or if you gotta just walk around the neighborhood in a circle, put on a podcast, read a book, read a book, and or listen to a book, I guess. Do something that is best for you, because looks maxing, I believe, should also have something to do with your health and have something to do with your mental. Because you can look you can look great, you can be working on your looks, but if you're mentally not all the way there, that's still gonna show up on your face. That there's not going to be any light in your eyes, no matter how beautiful they are. There's nothing there, nothing of substance, and that's something that tends to get ignored a lot of times in looks maxing. Is they ignore the substance in a way. They go for quality, as in your looks, but not quantity, as in your personality. Quantity, as in your hobbies or anything that actually interests you. You can be, granted, there's very beautiful people who don't need to do anything to have any personality, and they can still get whatever they want, or women. But then again, at the same time, you want to be. I believe you should want to be a well-rounded person. You should be able to talk about things that you enjoy. You should be able to attract the people that you want to attract, or just be able to talk to anybody. Because not everybody you're gonna meet is gonna care about how good you look. Some people are gonna care about how much of a conversation you can have with them. And I would say that's more for friends. And even in the context of relationships, who wants to be with a person that has literally nothing going for them as a person? Like, yeah, you're a pretty face, but Jesus Christ, you're boring. At that point, it's just, I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to hang out with you that much, or want to be with you for a long period of time. Because how you look over time is going to kind of fade, and like literally as you age, or literally as in the person who's looking at you is no longer going to care, unless you're the type of person who only cares for hookups. Go, fine, whatever. But in the context of everything else, looks maxing is not bad. Keep it surface, dip your toes into the cold water, a little bit of the iceberg. But once it gets to a point of rating, a super autistic rating, or it gets to really, you're looking at all your insecurities and all those type of things, it kind of starts to hurt you. And I'm not one of those people who necessarily say it's a race thing. I do kind of believe, in the context of looks maxing, what is considered very high in attraction is more Eurocentric features, a thinner nose, or a straight nose, or I'm not gonna say thinner lips, that's not necessarily it, but like more like a Cupid's bow lip, which I think a lot of people have Cupid's bow lips, right? Well, I think majority of races have Cupid's bows or full lips, close enough, right? But I don't think that's necessarily the case overall, because a good looks maxing I hate that I'm talking about fucking looks maxing YouTuber will be able to help you per specific feature that you have. As in, if you're black, they'll be able to help you by not basing it off, but helping you by context of you're black, so this will look better on you than if you're white or if you're Asian or whatever you are. But overall, I do believe looks maxing is good, with an asterisk on it. I believe it's more good than bad generally, because most people aren't going to go to the extremes, a la clavicular and a lot of other looks maxing YouTubers. There are things that they do recommend that you do, skincare, whatever. Wash your fucking hair, drink water. Those are overall just good for you. And obviously there's going to be ones who peddle something that's, I consider, a little bit bad. Think of it like shoe lifts. If you're short, bro, you're going to have to take those shoes off eventually. And I'm not the type of person, me specifically, I would never wear shoe lifts. Granted, that would put me above average in height. I think most shoe lifts are like 3-4 inches that they can give you. Granted, yes, that would put me above average in height. But at the same time, I feel like I'll just be living a lie. Granted, if you're like the type of person if you're heading to a place for business, and you're never gonna be there again, if you want to wear shoe lifts so you can look more intimidating, go ahead, bro. It's your life, bro. It's your life, not mine. It's your life. Do what you want. And I think what was it called? It's like some type of tape, zygo tape, or whatever the hell it is called, bro. They're scamming you. There's a lot of looks maxing YouTubers that are scamming you. And I'm not even sure what the hell the zygo tape is supposed to do. Is it supposed to like hollow your cheeks out or whatever like that? I don't fucking know, dude. And obviously then there's the extremes with clavicular. I think I literally said that. With him doing like drugs to lean out, or literally doing anything except just fixing diet, or just taking weight loss pills. You could just take weight loss medicine. Like, you can not like Ozempic, but like weight loss stuff or eating stuff that fills you up, which I think is like protein. I think protein tends to make you feel full, bro. There's a lot he could do instead of just taking drugs. I don't know how you, whatever, bro. But yeah, generally, I do believe it is good for you. If somebody asked me, the average guy, if they asked me, should I be looks maxing, I would generally tell them yes, in moderation. Do the basic stuff that the average person could do, and that's pretty much it. Do not be do not listen to I wouldn't even watch Clavicular. I don't really find him that entertaining. His clips, I guess, are somewhat entertaining, but once he gets to a point where he's really kind of going off the loose, because I'm gonna make a prediction on this. Hey, if you're one of those betting people, Kaushi, if I am going to make a bet that Clavicular is either going to be arrested or irrelevant by September, because he is a star that is very bright, but the most brightest stars burn out extremely fast. He is very clip bound, and it takes one fuck up because for him to keep his popularity, he has to continuously keep that up, and that is the worst way of doing things. Granted, he's 20 or so. He's like 20. He's younger than me. Wallahi, he's 20, and it's gonna burn out because there's the fascination with him, or the general interest in him, but after a certain amount of time, it's just going to pass away. He's definitely not going to become one of those YouTubers or streamers who's going to stick around for a long period of time. Absolutely not. I 100% believe that give it a month or so he's going to be gone, or not a month or two, but a couple months near the end of the year, he's going to be pretty irrelevant. So yeah, that's all I have to say. See ya.